It's morning. The alarm buzzes. You stumble into the kitchen, still half asleep. A jar, a spoon, hot water, a stir, and in less than a minute, you're holding warmth in your hands. It feels simple, but behind that ordinary ritual lies one of the most extraordinary global journeys in food. That spoonful of instant coffee has traveled oceans. It's passed through the hands of farmers, scientists, engineers, even robots. It carries with it history, science, tradition, and the labor of millions. Each sip is a story of fragile blossoms opening in the thin mountain air, of red cherries plucked at just the right moment, of beans dried under the sun and sorted by calloused hands. It's a tale of ships carrying sacks across continents, of laboratories where aromas are preserved through chemistry and precision, of factories where machines hum tirelessly to transform beans into crystals that dissolve in seconds. And yet, when the granules swirl into your cup, all that vast complexity vanishes into comfort and familiarity. Coffee becomes both ancient and modern, both local and global, both a fuel for survival and a luxury of taste. Today, we're going to trace that journey, from a fragile blossom on a hillside to the moment you take your first sip. And by the end, I promise, you'll never look at your instant coffee the same way again. Coffee begins with flowers. In Brazil, Ethiopia, Vietnam, and Colombia, the powerhouses of the coffee world, millions of coffee trees bloom once a year. For a few magical days, their branches are covered with tiny white blossoms. Entire hillsides glow. The air fills with the perfume of jasmine and honey. And then, almost as quickly, the flowers vanish. Each blossom leaves behind a small green berry. Slowly, over 6 to 9 months, that berry ripens, first pale, then yellow, and finally a deep red cherry. Inside, just 2 seeds. Coffee beans. Did you know? Coffee is the second most traded commodity in the world, after oil. More than 2.25 billion cups are consumed every day. For farmers, watching cherries ripen is a test of patience. Pick them too early, and they taste grassy. Wait too long, and the flavor turns flat. The sweet spot, when nearly every cherry shines bright red. That's when harvest begins. Harvest season is both a celebration and a race against time. On small farms in Ethiopia or Colombia, harvesting is still done by hand. Entire families, parents, grandparents, children, move slowly through the rows with baskets tied around their waists, plucking cherries one by one. Every cherry is chosen by eye, by touch. It's slow, careful, and deeply traditional, but on the sprawling estates of Brazil, efficiency rules. Giant harvesters, machines the size of buses, crawl between rows. Armed with 1,500 vibrating rods, they shake branches at 1,000 beats per minute. Ripe cherries rain down into trays. Unripe ones stay on the tree, left for another pass. What would take a family several days can be done in hours. One machine can harvest 60 heavy sacks of cherries before lunch. 2 different worlds, the hand-picked intimacy of tradition and the raw efficiency of modern agriculture. Both funnel their harvest toward the same destiny. The cherries don't rest. Within hours, they're hauled to the wet mill. Freshness is everything. Step 1, sorting. The cherries are dumped into water tanks. Ripe ones sink, unripe or damaged ones float and are skimmed away. Step 2, depulping. Special machines squeeze the cherries until the beans inside burst free, still coated in sticky mucilage. Step 3, fermentation. The beans are poured into tiled tanks filled with water and left for 12 to 24 hours. Natural enzymes slowly dissolve the mucilage. Too short and they're slimy. Too long and the flavor spoils. Farmers check by touch, rolling beans between their fingers. Finally, the beans are washed clean, ready for the sun. Did you know? In Ethiopia, many small farmers still process beans using wooden hand pulpers, powered by nothing more than muscle and river water. Next comes patience. Beans are spread across courtyards, shimmering under the sunlight. Workers rake them constantly so they dry evenly. The scrape of wood against stone, the hum of insects, the smell of warm earth. It's an ancient rhythm, unchanged for centuries. This stage can take 2 weeks. The magic number? Exactly 11% moisture. Too much, and the beans will rot. Too little, and they'll crack. When they reach perfection, machines hull the beans, stripping away their papery parchment. What remains are smooth green beans. They don't smell like coffee yet. They smell earthy, grassy, but they carry all the potential. From there, the beans begin another journey. They're sorted by size and quality, sometimes by hand, sometimes with lasers and optical scanners. The smallest defect, an insect bite, a wrinkle, a hint of mold, can decide their fate. The finest beans are destined for specialty brews, while others are directed toward roasting plants where speed, efficiency, and consistency rule. Then comes roasting, the moment when chemistry and craft collide. Green beans tumble in giant drums, heated until they crack and release their hidden character. Sugars caramelize, oils rise to the surface, and 100 different aromas bloom. The air fills with that unmistakable scent. Sharp, sweet, smoky, alive. Each degree of heat, each second of timing, shapes what you'll eventually taste in your cup. And for instant coffee, the journey doesn't end there. The roasted beans are ground, brewed in massive percolators, and concentrated. The liquid essence is dried, sometimes frozen, sometimes sprayed into fine mist, until it becomes those small, brittle crystals you know. Each one is a snapshot of flavor, waiting to be awakened by water. Green beans are bagged in 60-kilogram jute sacks. Each bag is stamped with origin, grade, and farm details. In warehouses, they're stacked in towering rows, waiting for trucks and cargo ships. From Brazil to Germany, from Vietnam to Japan, from Ethiopia to Switzerland, billions of beans crossing oceans every year. Fuel for the world's mornings. Did you know? The Port of Santos in Brazil alone ships out 30 million bags of coffee every year. At Nestlé factories, the scene looks almost futuristic, like something out of science fiction. Massive trucks pull into loading bays, carrying mountains of green beans that have traveled thousands of miles across the ocean. The air is filled with the scent of burlap and earth as sacks are rolled out. But here's the surprise. No human hands touch them. Instead, robotic arms glide smoothly on tracks, swinging with precision. Steel claws grip the 60-kilogram sacks as if they were feathers, stacking them effortlessly onto moving belts. From above, optical scanners and moisture sensors flash, analyzing each load in real time. Any irregularity, too damp, too dry, or contaminated, and alarms trigger. Next come the robotic probes. They pierce random sacks, extracting small samples of beans. These samples rush through pneumatic tubes to labs for testing. If the beans fail, the entire shipment is instantly flagged and rejected. This level of automation saves days of manual labor, ensuring that only the highest quality beans enter production. Yet, for all the futuristic machinery, one vital step still can't be outsourced to robots: the human palate test. Inside the cupping lab, professional tasters sit before rows of cups. They slurp loudly, pulling coffee across the tongue to capture every note, up to 100 samples a day. A single flaw, a sour tang, a dull note, a whiff of over-fermentation can send an entire shipment back. Did you know? Master tasters spend 5 to 7 years in training. Many can identify the country of origin from just one sip. Only when human judgment approves do the beans move on. Roasting transforms beans from raw to recognizable. Green beans tumble into massive drums, heated to 370 to 540 degrees Fahrenheit. Inside, paddles keep them moving. Minutes pass, the beans swell, darken, crack, oils seep out. The factory fills with the unmistakable aroma of coffee. Roast time changes everything. Light roasts stay bright, citrusy with higher caffeine. Dark roasts become bold, smoky, lower in caffeine, but richer in body. Once roasted, beans spill into cooling trays, blasted with air to lock in flavor. Finally, they look and smell like the coffee we know. Next, the roasted beans are ground coarsely, then brewed in industrial machines under pressure and steam. The result? A thick, syrup-like liquid, concentrated coffee extract. But liquid won't last. To make instant coffee, it needs to be transformed into granules. For Nescafé Classic, the extract is pumped into a giant tower. Fine nozzles spray it as mist. At the same time, hot air, around 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, rushes through. In seconds, droplets dry mid-air, falling as light, crisp granules. Fast, efficient, perfect for mass production. Nescafé Gold takes a slower path. The extract is frozen at -58 degrees Fahrenheit into solid slabs. Then, it's shattered into shards. Inside vacuum chambers, ice sublimates, skipping liquid, turning straight into vapor. This preserves delicate aromas and flavors. The result? Golden, crystal-like granules that dissolve instantly, releasing rich aroma in your cup. The final stage, packaging. Conveyor belts roar. Granules pour into glass jars and sealed pouches. Some factories fill over 250,000 jars every day. Each jar is capped airtight, labeled, boxed, and loaded onto pallets. From warehouses to trucks to supermarkets, they travel once again, this time to reach you. So tomorrow, when you scoop a spoonful into your mug, pause. That tiny granule carries a story of blossoms blooming for days, families hand-picking cherries, machines shaking trees in Brazil, beans soaking in fermentation tanks, farmers raking patios under the sun, green beans crossing oceans, robots scanning sacks in high-tech factories, tasters slurping hundreds of samples, roasters crackling with heat, extract frozen at -58 degrees Fahrenheit, granules sealed in jars. All of that for 5 quiet minutes in your morning. Instant coffee may feel ordinary, but it's the result of one of the most extraordinary collaborations on Earth. Farmers, machines, scientists, and you. And if you enjoyed uncovering this hidden journey, here's how you can keep it going. Like this video if you learned something new today. Share it with your coffee-loving friends. Subscribe for more fascinating journeys. Because everything in your life, from your chocolate to your sneakers to the chair you're sitting on, has a story worth telling. And here, we'll keep bringing them to life.